Hello, and welcome to another great episode of Beneath the Surface with Purposeful Porsha. Today's episode is with Katrina Dennis, a board-certified Christian counselor, life coach, and certified peer counselor, motivational speaker, and business consultant with documented years of leadership. She's also a pastor of Ministry Out of Bounds and owner of Grace to Chat Counseling and Coaching K's Way Business Consulting. I'm extremely excited about this episode. We're focusing on healing your soul through traumatic relationships and relationships with a narcissist. I'm pretty sure you're going to get a lot of great notes and a lot of information to help your healing process. Tune in. Thank you so much again, Katrina, for joining us today, being a special guest on Beneath the Surface. I'm really excited about Spirit and Soul episode. They mean so much to me because I know without these two, you can't repair, you can't mend, and you can't move forward. So again, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It is absolutely an honor and wonderful to be here.
Yeah, she's my therapist and counselor, so this is really personal, and I do favor her because she speaks to my soul, she speaks to my spirit, and she speaks to me just genuinely. And sometimes you just need someone to take the layers off, take the mask off, and just directly speak to you on what you need to hear. So hopefully all this information, you might want to write notes, will bless your soul. So this episode is on how to heal from being in a traumatic relationship and with a narcissist. And we're talking about healing and repairing your soul. So my very first question, because I know a lot of people do not know the difference, from a psychological, spiritual perspective, how can you define the difference between a person's soul and their spirit? And how might trauma affect the person's soul?
Okay. So when we think about your soul and your soul is often called the seat of your consciousness. It is the very thing that the battle of life is through, where your soul will go at the end of it. Because that is a part of you that transcends time. It transcends the physical body. Mm-hmm. Your soul is the part of you that holds all of that material, mm-hmm. right? Your spirit is your connection to the higher power, to God. It is the very place where you are connected one way or the other to what your rules are for yourself and your beliefs are.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like the personality part?
Yep. So a lot of times your soul aligns more with your personality, but the rules that you give your personality come with your spirit, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. And your spirit is that divine knowing, that divine nature that connects you with your creator. Mm-hmm. To put those two pieces together to be housed in your mind and your body. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Can you repeat the second part of that question for me?
Sure. And so how might the trauma affect the person's soul?
Trauma, especially from a relational standpoint, affects the soul in a way that it disconnects one from themselves. So when we talk about your soul, and I'm going to incorporate your spirit back into it as well. Your spirit is like your compass, right? It tells you, do you want to, if you're going north, south, east, or west. Mm-hmm. Your soul is following your spirit. Mm-hmm. So when we have a disconnection or disruption in our soul no longer knows where it's going and what it's doing. Mm-hmm. Because our spirit becomes wounded. Therefore, our soul has no purpose to move forward. And we can get stuck, almost like you're caged in. Mm-hmm. So in that trauma point, it becomes that your guiding light, your spirit man, or the spirit of God that's connected with you, you can't connect with that, and therefore you're lost for a time.
It's almost like your Wi-Fi is off.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
Okay.
Searching, and you just can't get it.
And it's spinning.
Yep.
And it's spinning.
It's kind of like if you imagine going to New York City with no way of knowing how to get around, and you get stuck in Times Square, mm-hmm. and it's a busy day, and you're just trying to figure out your way. You're just going to spin for a while, mm-hmm. trying mm-hmm. to ask someone a question, trying to figure out what it is. you don't know who to trust. That's what that trauma does. It takes away, what do I trust? Do I trust me? Do I trust this, or do I trust them?
And that's a good analogy. I was actually thinking about that when you were talking about like just regular pedestrians or visitors or tourists stopping, asking questions. You know, we do that in our own space. Like we'll ask a person, well, how do you feel about this? Or what did you think about that? And so many different advice, so much different advice and wrong counsel.
Absolutely.
It can just make your soul like collapse, almost is a better choice of words, because you're getting overload of, you know, so much stuff that you can become indecisive. You can make wrong decisions based off of someone's opinions. And so it's the same as what you were saying, like if you're stuck in Manhattan and you have no idea where to go, and someone says, oh, well, you know, I go down this road, and then you just end up in a one-way dead-end street, right?
Yeah. You know, when we think about that, if we use that analogy again, you have to look at the perception of the person you're asking, right? If that person prefers to be off the beaten path, they're going to take you down the one-way street.
Yeah.
But if you're dealing with someone who prefers to use the subway, they're going to take you toward a subway station. So the perception of the person you're asking for advice is going to dictate the advice you get, where you didn't have any control after asking the question. Except, do I follow or not follow? And what trauma does at that point is it makes you not trust your own intuition.
Correct.
It takes away your ability to see yourself as a good decision maker.
Correct.
And when you do that, you become susceptible to people who may set you up to go down a wrong street.
The wrong street. Based off of their trauma.
Yes. Based off of their perception of life.
Yeah. That's good. Another question for you is, can trauma from a toxic relationship create a disconnect between your mind, your body, your soul, and your spirit? And if so, how do we begin to heal and realign?
Absolutely. It can create a disconnect between all of those things. And we oftentimes talk about the electrical impulses and the currents that come through our mind space. But if we also look at our heart space, has its own currents and its own electrical space, right? So when we look at that, we're having two experiences all the time, right? Oftentimes when we find ourselves in abusive or narcissistic relationships, we're having two separate experiences, where our mind sometimes may be telling us, hey, there are some flags here that we should pay attention to. And our heart is saying, oh no, we want to go forward. We can fix this, right? We can work this out. And those two experiences by themselves, we're already saying we don't trust ourselves. And we give space to the abusive person or the abusive experience to be the thing that we trust above ourselves. So now our soul is confused because we're not trusting our connection with our higher being.
Correct.
Our body is confused because it's having multiple situations that are saying, this is conflicting to me. And now the person that is the abuser is able to reinforce their abuse and reinforce that factor of, you can't trust yourself, you must trust me. So with that, we have to find a way to, one, get around community that connects us back to who we are and what our beliefs are. Being solid in what our beliefs are, and trusting ourselves before we allow ourselves to even be open to a relationship, healthy or not.
That's so good, because, I mean, I'm guilty as charged. Past relationships, you know, not one in particular, but I can focus on a narcissistic relationship that I was in. I would battle between, okay, this is what I think I should be doing, but, you know, but I saw all the good. You know, I would, I guess, fantasize on that good part and try to negate the negative, right? And justify, well, you know, they meant this, that, and the third, or I would make excuses for them for my own self, right? And so that battle within yourself is so real. And it's really your soul, which is your feelings, your emotions, and your spirit man, you know, God is saying, no,
Yes, the truth.
Have a seat, honey.
The truth.
Yeah, and I would try, but like, well, God, if he comes to the door in 5 minutes, that means that we're supposed to, like, I'm bartering, like,
Yep.
you know what I mean? Making deals with my soul and my
Yeah.
spirit. Yeah, for this traumatic, narcissistic relationship.
And one of the best things that we can do there is we can base our decisions on facts,
Yeah.
and then they can be reinforced by our feelings.
Yeah.
Right? And so
Yeah.
often we find ourselves at the back end of a narcissistic relationship or an abusive relationship. We realize that we base so much on the way we felt in the moment.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And the goal of the narcissistic person or abuser is to take away your ability to navigate yourself. Right?
Mm-hmm.
They are trying to fulfill themselves, and they fulfill themselves by taking away your ability to fulfill yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, being able to navigate for yourself and understanding, hey, I need to pay attention to what the facts are. Does this person show up when they say they are?
Right.
Does this person keep their word?
Mm-hmm.
Is this person integral? And then we can go and say, hold on, they show up when they're supposed to, but they're mean when they get here. Right?
Yes.
So the fact is that they show up.
Yes.
I feel and I see that they are not kind when they interact with me, though. Two experiences. My mind and my heart are having experiences, and they're supposed to complement each other.
Mm-hmm.
How I like to look at the emotions, right, are like your emotions are your antenna. And they're supposed to feel your way through your experiences. Mm-hmm. Your legs, your body, it moves you there. Your mind, it navigates you. But your emotions are supposed to tell you, this doesn't feel good.
Right. Mm-hmm.
This doesn't feel settling. Is my peace disrupted?
Mm-hmm.
And when we can come to a place where we have that and we're grounded in ourselves before we encounter that relationship, we're in a much better space to navigate not getting into the deep end of it.
I am for sure an I feel person. I am an I feel person. And so I have to remind myself to incorporate I think in that.
Uh-huh.
Because my I feel normally overpowers the think part. Like, oh, they were wrong. However, I feel like they still love me, or I feel like they meant well, or I would justify things based off of my emotions and trying to balance the reality versus the warm and fuzzy fiction.
Yes, I get that. I totally do.
It's so difficult if you're not mature enough to not be so impulsive and react. Like, I will forgive you until I can't do it anymore. And not saying that that's so wrong, but I have to have a balance, a healthy balance, because I lead with they say you have your heart on your sleeve. Yep. So I'm very sensitive, not only just to my feelings, but to the person's feelings.
Yeah.
So I would say, unfortunately, in the past, and even traces of now, I would be easily manipulated because I would lead with my soul more so than sitting back and saying, Porsha, like, let's look at the situation for what it really is and not, the cherry that's on top of the whipped cream. Because it just looks good. It feels good. Yeah. And I know that I'm not the only one, but it's the learning how to navigate and join both forces together and just stop just being a person that just lives in a space of your soul all the time.
Yeah.
For everything.
I used to be an I feel person too. And after going through relationships that just exemplified abuse, I came to a place where I was a why person. Right? Yeah. And it doesn't take away the I feel from me, but what it does is it incorporates. So now for me, it's I feel because. So I feel, and then I have to ask myself why.
You ask yourself questions.
Yes. So I have to be able to justify that with some solidity, right? Because the I feel can sway so quickly. I can feel cold because the AC is on, and then if I turn the AC off, I feel hot. And that could be a 2-second span of feelings, right? total opposites.
Mm-hmm.
But if I say why, I come to a place where, oh, the AC was on me, so I feel cold. Let me, instead of turning it off, turn it down or turn the blower so it's not blowing on me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm making a more solid decision that will take me further.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, I think about the fact that people always say something good for your soul, but it's just nourishing the personality of your spirit,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
right? And if you don't have the know-how or know the difference between the two, I think that's when people kind of mix things up and get caught up in a roller coaster of constant back-to-back narcissistic relationships, because the narcissist can pick up on that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
They're like, oh, okay, I know where I can
Yep.
trick them.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Yeah. They're searching to fulfill their own insecurities. And one of the best ways that we can tell if we're dealing with a narcissist right up front is, I'm going to give you a little example. Hey, Portia, I would love to go to dinner with you tomorrow. Would you like to go to dinner?
of course,
Where would you like to go?
I'm open.
Well, give me a restaurant.
What restaurant would I like to go to? I don't know. Capitol Grill. Say that.
Okay. You know, I was thinking Mendenhall Inn. Would you want to do that?
Sure, I've never been.
Guess what? I just changed your mind. You thought about what you were going to say. You picked the restaurant.
Oh, okay.
And then I changed your mind.
I'm guilty. I
Yep.
do that all the time.
And so often we do that.
Mm-hmm.
But that is one of the first questions or the first type of interactions we'll have with a narcissist, is that they will give us an open-ended thing for us to make a decision. And then they want to see if they can change our minds.
And you know, I look at it, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but I look at it as, well, you're asking me out, right? And so, I mean, I in the beginning I said, oh, I'm open, right?
Yep.
And so in my brain, you're gifting me, like so why would I dictate? Like, I never looked at it like that. I just looked at it as like, oh, okay, well, you know, you're spending the money, you're asking me out, so I don't really have a preference. I mean, the menus are the same, I'm sure.
Right. But the truth is that why would a person give you the option to choose and take that option away?
Oh, okay.
And that's really what it's about, because I want to see if I'm an abusive person or a narcissistic person, I want to be able to see
how
quickly,
much you can,
how quickly can I made you make a decision after you said, I'm open, and then I changed your mind at the back end. And really in those spaces, if we're attuned to it, we'll know enough to say, oh, why did you make me pick Capitol Grill then? And guess what? You just deterred that person.
Oh,
because
wow.
you caught what they were saying. And you don't have to do it negatively. You don't have to become confrontational. But just letting them know that you recognize the change is more than enough to deter that person from trying to use you as their victim.
That was a homework note. Thank you. That was definitely a good one. Because I just charged it up to me being indecisive.
Well, it's not even indecisive. It's that you're naturally an easygoing person.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a harm to you, or we weren't put out by going to a different restaurant. The restaurant itself didn't matter to you. To them, the restaurant doesn't matter. It's the decision of changing what you decided. If you look back at the narcissistic experiences you've had, how many times were you changing what you had picked?
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
How many times were you made to feel like what you had said, what you'd done, what the reality was changed and deciphered differently?
Yeah.
That's what it's about. It's about taking you and all of your glory and all of your beauty and all of that, your mind space, your soul space, your spirit space, and saying, hey, you don't know yourself. I know you. Let me tell you what you actually want.
Now, what about the woman who says, no, you go ahead and choose? Like, I mean, I'm in this space now in my 50-something years. Like, you go ahead and choose. Like, you plan it. I look for it in my mind as I want you to take charge, and you create the space, and you create this experience instead of asking me. I'm at that space now. Now, would I be the narcissist in that part?
No. So
Okay.
that is not, one, the narcissist is not The narcissistic person does not want to sit in that space.
Okay.
They don't want to sit in that space because how can they manipulate their own decisions?
Oh, okay.
Right? The only thing that they could use that in a way of, well, you told me to pick. Now this is what they will do. As I'm saying this, it's coming to me. They'll pick somewhere they know you absolutely will hate. Right? And now the experience is so subpar that if you do not look like you're enjoying it, you do not compliment it, or you complain, they can turn that around on you emotionally as far as, well, I don't understand how you're saying you don't like it. You didn't want to pick anything. Why are you saying that you are not enjoying this? You let me pick, so now you're saying what I picked isn't good enough. And that becomes the emotional space. So even though their first tactic didn't work, they're going to try a secondary tactic. Right? And now it's your job to see, okay, well, hold on. This one, when we're meeting someone, when we're getting to know them, we are looking for peaceful spaces.
Yes,
right?
For sure.
We're looking for peaceful spaces that we can grow together.
Right.
We're not expecting anyone to show up perfectly.
Right.
We're expecting that when there's a rift, we are grown enough, we're old enough, we're mature enough to have a conversation about it. Right? And if it becomes an emotional tug, it becomes where you have to check yourself to say, hold on.
I'm not doing it.
We can only tug at either end. And if I don't tug, he's tugging by himself. So it becomes, you have to constantly be vigilant and paying attention to your own responses, your own output, but also what it feels like, what is going on as you're going through this dating or getting to know friendship, business experience.
Yeah.
All of these experiences can have this same type of relational trait.
Are you guys taking notes? I'm taking notes because that was really good. I mean, I do that. Like, I am like, I don't care. You know what I mean? Because I know I have, like we, discussed on the last episodes, I have allergies. I have gut issues now because of these lifestyle experiences that I've been in. So it's kind of like, I know I'm going to salmon and I'm going to the salad.
Right.
Like, so it doesn't even matter where we go.
Like, it's available everywhere.
Exactly. My other question is, what happens to a person's intuitive voice or inner knowing when their soul is under constant emotional attack? What
happens to your eye if it constantly gets punched?
Oh, it's bruised.
It's bruised, possibly damaged.
Correct.
May not be able to open well to see. That is what the soul goes through when it is constantly emotionally abused and attacked. It becomes that it is bruised. And when we're bruised, it actually hurts to move. Right? It becomes that it's out of focus. It can't navigate itself. It becomes that it doesn't trust that if I do this movement, if I want to move forward or I want to make a change, can I separate myself from what I've been doing? Right? When you're in that emotional abusive space, the best thing we can do for our soul is to figure out how to separate. Because we cannot heal from the very thing that is breaking us. So we have to figure out, how do we separate from the abusive thing, the abusive person, so that we can give our soul time, we can give our soul grace, we can get around people that feed it, and it can begin to grow. Because the same way that it took others to abuse you, it will sometimes take others to repair you. That community of repair, right? That community of sisterhood, of family, of church, of whatever that community looks like for each person. That community is so important, because when we can't trust ourselves, we're looking for trustworthy things.
Yes, that's true.
Right? And this is why sometimes you find people who go from narcissistic relationship to narcissistic relationship to abuse, right? It's because we're all, in all honesty, we're all in that place where we feel like we still need something.
Yeah.
Right? And because of that, we're constantly searching one way or the other. And with that search, we sometimes find what we need, and sometimes we find what we don't need.
Right.
To heal the part of us that's already broken.
Right.
And once we do that, the best thing you can do for your soul, disconnect from the abuse.
I agree.
And then get
1,000%.
around community of healing. That community could be anything. And that community should, in my perspective, include God. That community should include a space where you are honest with yourself, where you were able to say, my mistakes did happen, however, they do not define me, and I have the clarity now to move forward. That is not a one day happening, 1 week happening,
No,
1
it's
month
not.
happening. I wish that I could tell you healing looked like this, but healing is very
Yep.
much a roller coaster of peaks and valleys, and your soul will have to experience that because it has to come to some really cool learning points.
I will say that for me, my last traumatic relationship was the best lesson for me. And it gave me the opportunity, although it was a lot for myself, my kids, but it gave me a lot of space to learn myself. I had to forgive myself. That was the first thing, because I blamed myself from A to Z, because I personally feel, no abuse is good, but verbal and emotional abuse is the worst, right? Because you can't show signs of the emotional abuse except when it wears itself on the outside, right? And so hearing like comments replayed in your head when you're looking in the mirror, or just when you're doing daily things and they start to come back, and you become the person that believes it.
Yes.
You become a narcissist to yourself almost, right? And so my space of solitude was really my grounds of trying to figure out who I was again, learning myself, not someone's daughter, not someone's wife, not someone's mother, because you don't know who you are. And I feel like trying to navigate through healing was the most important thing of just learning who I am. And it's had to start with me forgiving myself, because I'm telling you, like, I thought I was fine, and then something would make me trip back up and be like, oh, he said, and I believed it to the point where I was stuck. I would say I'm stuck on stupid because I'm believing stupid, right?
Yeah.
And that space of healing your soul, it's like a wounded child.
Yeah, it is. It's when we're in those spaces of abusive relationships, one thing that I think is not talked about enough is that there's never just one type of abuse going on.
It's not.
Whether it's physical abuse, that physical abuse is accompanied by some type of verbal abuse, or financial abuse, or emotional abuse. Those abuses tie together, and it creates this kind of cord that wraps you down, right? So understanding that there is one abuse that usually leads, but there's also that secondary that is kind of the undercurrent that keeps you tied back. So what you're saying here is really good, because you understood that you needed to give yourself space, so that all of the different types of things that were happening were able to come to the surface. Although you recognized one, I'm sure through your learning experience, you started to understand that, whoa, I didn't even realize that was happening.
Yeah, for sure, because I didn't even understand the concept or the language behind a person being emotionally unavailable, right? And so he was very unavailable, and I had to try and conform, because that's what we do, right? We conform to them, and they may have been in their eyes a loner, and I'm extremely outgoing. Everyone who knows me, I'm the party girl, so I'm outgoing, and so that should have been a flag alone, right? But I justified it because of the time that we had together. It was like, well, he's outgoing with me, like, you know what I mean? So, but I wanted to go into something in the middle of my hurt. Now, I know this was the spirit, and I know we're jumping a little bit ahead, but the spirit man made me make something out of that hurt space. And so there was a workshop that I created, and it's I'm Beautiful on Purpose. And it was showing, because you're so destroyed on the inside, it starts to come out on the outside, right? And why was it called You're Beautiful on Purpose? Because I was accidentally being beautiful to appease him. Like putting the weave in my head. Not because I liked it, because, they claimed I looked prettier with the weave instead of my own natural hair. And I'm like, well, that's an oxymoron. Everyone's trying to buy my hair.
Right.
Right? And so, or, it just, oh, you gained weight after having the baby. Well, not everybody has a snapback, nor do they have plastic surgery money, right? You know what I mean? So I realized that I was trying to create a space as a pleaser, as the I feel person, that I was adding to my abuse.
So there's the space of investment. And oftentimes as people, we get caught in these relationships because of the investment that we already put into it.
Yeah, I've been here for 5 years, 6 years.
There you go. Yep. So we're trying to see a return on our investment. And that is how we actually begin to buy into our own abuse.
Yes.
Because we're looking at, well, I need a return on my investment.
Yeah.
I need something to come out of here because I don't want to feel like a fool. But every day when you wake up, you feel like a fool.
Every day.
Every day throughout the day when you look in the mirror, you feel like a fool. And every day when you're going to sleep, you feel like a fool. However, you have convinced yourself that you would be a fool if you walked away.
I think it's the embarrassment.
It is.
Right?
That's literally what it all comes out to, is that you feel like, I need to see this through because I need other people to see what I saw.
Right.
Right?
And you convince them. You try to convince them.
Yeah. They saw it the whole time.
They're like, girl, he was no good.
You try to, because now you have convinced yourself that what I see they could be is what I'm pulling out of them. And what's actually happening is you're seeing your traits that they're pulling out of you being used.
Yeah.
They are a mirror. They're mirroring you, and you're seeing yourself, and you're like, oh, he's so great, but really, you should be saying, I'm so great.
Right. Right. So I have one last question before we wrap up this amazing conversation. In your therapeutic experience, how do you help clients reconnect with the parts of their soul that were silenced or reshaped by emotional trauma?
So, therapeutically, one, giving people a space where they can sit with someone they trust. Right? I am only as good to you as far as you can trust me.
Right.
Because as far as you can trust me, you can open up to me. I can help you navigate what you're feeling and seeing and have been through. So when we talk about that soul space, that consciousness, that mind, as we said, getting into a healthy community, I am an integral part of a healthy community, right? Not the community, but a really good part of the community that gives a person the space to reconnect with their own mind, that helps them to see, all right, well, this is what I am considering, or this is what I thought. I'm a sounding board. And having a sounding board for that soul space is so important because it helps them to begin to trust their own voice again. Right?
Yeah.
The goal is never to walk in and sit on my couch and for you to take Katrina's voice with you. It is to walk away and trust your own voice more clearly. It is to walk away and say, I know that this person that I trust is affirming my choices for myself.
Yeah.
So therapeutically, I am a supporter.
Yes.
To be able to support that person to come to a space where they trust themselves and they get their own compass back in their hand.
Yes. Yes.
So now their navigation system is fixed.
Very good. I want to say one last thing before I wrap up. I had to remind myself to go through every gamut of my own feelings through this healing. And sometimes I forget, and then you have to remind me. Girl, feel.
It works.
Yeah, because I'll cut it off and just try to work it away or do other things. But if you don't go through the process of feeling all of those feelings during your repair, you're just going to prolong your healing and repeat it. And she makes me accountable. Girl, feel. And so I just at least want to give that advice. I am not a therapist or a counselor, but I am definitely under great company and under good counsel of those who have taught me well. And they have to remind me, because even though you learn something, you do forget. So it has been such a blessing to talk about healing the soul. And I know that we're going to come back for our next episode on the spirit. So for those people who have been blessed by you, can you share your information with them so they can contact you?
Absolutely. You can book with me through coachingkaysway.com, and that is coaching, KAYSWAY.com. And it is Grace to Chat Counseling. You can call me at 302-621-7808. I absolutely look forward to speaking to any of you. I do a free consultation for 15 minutes for anyone that is interested in having a short conversation to see if we fit together. Thank you.
You're going to fit with her. She's such a blessing. And again, thank you for tuning in for another great episode of Beneath the Surface with Porsha, Purposeful Porsha, and Katrina. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.